Shannon, project number 3, you chose exercise and fun, basically mixing those two together. And I want to call those two things out because when you think of fun and exercise, I think of energy and a lot of movement. And we've seen things done on exercise and generally like getting active, and there's usually people that are pretty energetic. But before we dig into a lot of those other details, I want to step back and talk about your goal in terms of why you're here at Toastmasters, because I think that in terms of the evaluation of success, that's important. And when we spoke, you said your goal was comfort, and being able to get up and recall what you want to be able to say and have comfort in front of people. And I really felt that compared especially to some of your earlier speeches that you looked a lot more comfortable up here. You looked a lot more natural. You know, it was just easy going. Your first speech, you were standing up behind the podium, and you were struggling a bit, and it was very timid, obviously. But this time it felt comfortable. You looked natural. You were smiling. You were engaging. In general, from that point of view, I feel like you've progressed. And I don't know, how did you feel overall? Did you feel that you were more comfortable? Mm-hmm. All right, and the other thing that I talked about is, did you memorize your speeches, or how did you actually prepare? And in general, usually you get the idea of what you want to cover, and then you kind of just talk off the top of your head, which is good, because I think it makes it a lot more natural than if it was rote memorization and you were just recalling facts. So from that perspective, I think you did great. You managed to use the word of the day, which also I think showed a degree of comfort and improvisation. You were again smiling, you were engaging. So some things that you could work on that I think would help improve the speech. This one was, again, project number 3. So from that scope, you had a general purpose and a specific purpose. The general purpose was persuasion. And I think your goal was to say, how can I convince people, and more specifically, to engage in exercise and convince them that it can be fun. One is, I think, maybe setting up the context of, for the audience, why it's not fun. What's painful about it? What's off? So maybe you start off with a story that's miserable exercise experience, right? Instead of like a fun one. And then juxtapose that with perhaps a really good experience. I think the other things that you could focus on might be getting into some other additional details, more supporting arguments. So when I think of fun and exercise, I think of things where I don't realize I'm exercising. Playing basketball, tennis, soccer, those are all forms of exercise, sports, where you're having a lot of fun and you don't even kind of realize you're exercising. So I think like that's like some things you could add in. So how do you uncover some of those details? One is that I think once you get a topic in mind, start discussing it with your friends, family. You don't have to tell them you're working on a speech. You might just ask them, hey, what do you think of exercise? Or what's kind of fun exercise for you? And through the week, as you just start using and integrating that conversation, you'll start to pick up ideas. You'll start kind of rehearsing throughout the week in terms of just things that will come to mind when you're standing up here and when you haven't written everything down. And things will start coming back because you'll have had the conversation and the speech throughout the whole week or longer. So I think like that's like some kind of more immediate tips that I think that would help enhance. But in terms of where you got today and how you did today relative to previous speeches and what your ultimate goal in Toastmasters is, I felt like you progressed. You're headed down that path. More and more practice and just kind of being in front of people, I think, is where you'll find that comfort. But you did a great job overall. Thank you.